50 Cent sued. A former employee makes terrifying claims of threats and retaliation, and she says she has texts to prove it. Plus, I'll tell you what 50 Cent has to say about it. I'm Angenette Levy, and this is Crime Fix. Curtis Jackson, who you know better as 50 Cent, is a rapper, a producer, and a businessman. He's very successful. He's been around for a really long time, and he's loved by millions of people. But a woman named Monique Mayers paints 50 Cent as the boss from hell in a new lawsuit, and she makes a lot of allegations that include threats, FBI investigations, and the possibility that 50 Cent's associates were involved in the 2006 murder of Busta Rhymes' bodyguard. Mayers says she worked for 50 Cent for 12 years, and for part of that time, she did the work of 3 executives without complaint. But then in 2019, Mayers claims in a lawsuit just filed that things between her and 50 started to go south. In the lawsuit, Mayers' attorneys write, Jackson ran his workplace the same way he built his public persona, through fear, humiliation, loyalty tests, and punishment. Money bought power. Power demanded obedience. Anyone who refused became a target. Mayers claims in her suit that 50 Cent started asking her in 2019 to do things that were illegal. First, Mayers claims 50 wanted her to help him cover up bankruptcy fraud by helping his bodyguard buy his mother a house to hide money he had earned. The lawsuit states, on January 14, 2019, Ms. Mayers texted Jackson directly, checked with the accountant, and you wouldn't be able to do anything for the house through the foundation. She then forwarded the accountant's advice to Walters and suggested Walters use the funds from the recent $168,000 wire as a down payment, a lawful alternative to the scheme Jackson had proposed. Second, Mayers claims that 50 Cent and his associates wanted Mayers to file a false police report claiming the rapper's bodyguard stole his car, but in reality, he believed the bodyguard had stolen $600,000 from him. That money, according to Mayers, had never been reported by 50 to the bankruptcy court as earned income. The lawsuit states, in a single day, Jackson had asked Ms. Mayers to file a false police report for a car that was not stolen, be an accomplice in concealing $600,000 in undisclosed cash from a state court, and fire Walters for the alleged theft while Jackson listened from the shadows. In every instance, Jackson wanted someone else to stand between him and his illegal conduct or enable his feckless conduct. In every instance, Ms. Mayers refused. Because of all of this, including not firing the bodyguard, she says she was fired in late March of 2019, was promised severance but never received it. And she says that she was harassed and threatened by people associated with 50 Cent for years. The suit claims, after attacking Ms. Mayers' reputation, Jackson's intimidation campaign moved to her phone. From January 2020 through March 2026, Ms. Mayers documented more than 83 incidents of harassment involving at least 25 unique phone numbers from California, Texas, Georgia, New York, and in one instance, Tanzania. The suit includes texts like this one from 2023 that reads, "Who is this?" The sender responded, "I'm your friend 50. Are you still in San Diego?" Mayers responded, "You have the wrong number. Did he give you this number?" The sender responded, "Yeah, he did. Is this the wrong number?" "He said he would get me in tonight to watch him. Are you able to get in touch with him?" Mayers responded, "What's your name?" The sender responded, "Victor Sena." Mayers responded, "Where did you meet him so I refresh his memory?" The sender responded, "That was last night here in San Diego. It was very quickly because he was busy." Mayers responded, "No problem. Where exactly so I can remind him?" The sender responded, "At Park, San Diego." As time passed, Mayers claims in the suit that she was called to testify in front of a grand jury investigating allegations of fraud made by Jackson against a man named Mitchell Green at his company Sire Spirits. In 2024, Mayers said she received a text after receiving a subpoena to testify in a lawsuit against Sire Spirits. The text says Mayers texted, "Who is this?" The sender responded, "Ja Rule." Mayers responded, "Who are you trying to reach?" The sender responded, "Curtis." Mayers responded, "Who gave you this number?" Mayers said Ja Rule had never, ever called her, not even once, and 50 Cent and Ja Rule had been in a public feud for decades. And the night before her deposition in the Sire Spirit civil case, Mayers said she received this text that said, "You will suffer, Fifth," a name used by 50 Cent. During the deposition, Mayers' suit claims that one of 50 Cent's lawyers questioned her about the unsolved 2006 murder of Busta Rhymes' security guard, Israel Ramirez, at a video shoot in Brooklyn. Mayers' suit claims the incident involved G-Unit affiliates, including 50 Cent. Mayers said she didn't work for Jackson then, and after the deposition, she received a threatening voicemail. The suit states, "The campaign did not stop. On August 3rd, 2024, beginning before dawn, Ms. Mayers received 15 calls in roughly 3 hours, including voicemails stating, 'Bang, bang, I shot you down.' Exactly 1 year later, she received 15 more calls, same date, same count, same pre-dawn timing. When Ms. Mayers reported the conduct in court, Judge Melissa Crane stated, 'I mean, this has never happened in any case I've ever had.'" In the end, Mayers says she has suffered lost wages and intentional infliction of emotional distress. She's asking for damages. But Curtis Jackson's lawyers say they will fight this lawsuit to the end. In a statement to Law&Crime, Jackson's lawyers wrote, "Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and his representatives categorically and strenuously deny the baseless allegations made in a recent civil complaint filed by Monique Mayers, a former employee terminated for cause on or about March 27, 2019. To date, Mr. Jackson has not been formally served with any pleadings, nor have his representatives been contacted by opposing counsel regarding this matter. It is highly unusual that a lawsuit of this nature was apparently circulated to the press before it was seemingly filed, evidencing that these claims are entirely without merit and are nothing more than a stunt to garner media attention and damage Mr. Jackson's reputation. Ms. Mayers is a disgruntled former employee who was terminated for cause over 5 years ago. This lawsuit is nothing more than a transparent attempt to use the guise of a legal proceeding to seek an unjustified payday well outside of the applicable statute of limitations. Tellingly, Ms. Mayers has chosen to employ counsel who is currently engaged in separate ongoing litigation against Mr. Jackson on behalf of Shaniqua Tompkins. This connection further underscores the retaliatory and opportunistic nature of this filing. Furthermore, Mr. Jackson takes any and all threats to himself, his current and former employees, and any witnesses incredibly seriously. Contrary to the false narratives being peddled in this complaint, when these alleged threats were brought to light, Mr. Jackson's legal counsel actively encouraged Ms. Mayers to go to the authorities. Moreover, Mr. Jackson's counsel proactively reported these alleged threats to law enforcement as well to ensure they were thoroughly investigated. We look forward to vigorously defending against these false claims in a court of law and anticipate a swift dismissal of this frivolous lawsuit. Okay, so let's dig into this. I want to bring in Brian McMonagle. He's a criminal defense attorney, also has represented Bill Cosby and rapper Meek Mill. So, Brian, thanks for coming on. I want to get your thoughts first off about this lawsuit.
So thanks for having me. And first off, here we go again. You know, another celebrity filing. This one's a little different than some of the others we've seen recently, including Jay-Z's that was dealt with in his favor. I'm really confused by some of the legal problems the plaintiff has here. What jumps out at me as a trial lawyer is a statute of limitations problem with the lawsuit. You know, in all states, there are statutes of limitations. Georgia's no different. It's usually a couple years on a civil claim, and you're going to have charged conduct within the time period of that statute. And despite the fact that there's text messages here, et cetera, that are being referred to as threats, without connecting them specifically to the defendant, I don't know how plaintiff gets past a motion to dismiss based on a statute of limitations argument, but TBD.
Yeah, TBD is for sure. I think we have learned some interesting things here. If everything that she's claiming in this lawsuit is true, or at least some things, There have been apparently FBI investigations related to 50 Cent. She's saying, she's been in touch with the FBI. She's been called in front of grand juries to testify. So it sounds like they've been investigating him over the years, but no charges have been filed.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, the good news for her is she's been a dutiful reporter or complainer, if you will, of misconduct. But law enforcement apparently investigated this and found nothing. So, again, for the defense, you're in a much better position where you've had the complaint. It's been referenced to law enforcement, and they've said, "Hey, we don't see anything here." So it's kind of, it's a mixed bag for the plaintiff, I think, in that they vetted it, they didn't find anything, and here we go with a lawsuit. Plus, this lawsuit seems to be tied to a different one. Same lawyer, same defendant, and so again, the defense in this case is really armed with a lot of ammunition here to defend this, I think.
I do find it interesting that she said these texts and everything, the text messages, and then later the voicemails, which she said were verified by a sheriff's detective, that they documented these. She said they went on for years and she was scared and they freaked her out, but then she never reported them. And, I would think that the FBI and the sheriff's office would have the tools to probably track this down, track down who owns the phones, unless they're burners, or who had control of the phones, things of that nature, especially if somebody's calling somebody in the middle of the night and saying, bang, bang. Yeah. You're dead or whatever. I mean, that seems pretty concerning after you have been in front of a judge for a deposition.
Yeah, I mean, you sound like juror number 4. I mean, that's the problem for the plaintiff in this case. There's just a void here in terms of reporting. And then why didn't you take steps to just avoid it completely with your phone, et cetera? So I wonder whether the timing is just so problematic for the plaintiff where they really can't get anywhere. And maybe that's the reason that they, publicly flushed the lawsuit, maybe as an attempt to get a quick settlement in the case. My guess is there won't be one. Although I will say this, what is problematic for the defense is that this is somebody that was in his inner circle, and that can't be denied. It's also someone who apparently was threatened. That can't be denied. They're not good facts for the defendant. But from a legal standpoint, plaintiffs got some real challenges ahead, avoiding statutes of limitations, avoiding the questions that you've raised fairly, just in terms of why you wait.
She claims, too, she was doing the job, she says, of 3 executives and didn't complain, didn't ask for additional compensation. She did the job of 3 executives for 3 years. And then during that time, she said basically there were 3 strikes in 2019 where she refused to cover up or do things that were illegal at the request of Curtis Jackson. And if that is actually true, is that problematic for Curtis Jackson? She's claiming that he wanted her to hide income from the bankruptcy court, do things like that. She wanted her to file a false police report, which she didn't end up doing. So I guess there was no crime committed there. But the bankruptcy court stuff, I mean, when you start talking about hiding money from the feds, they don't like that. So are these things that could be problematic for 50 Cent if those things are indeed true?
The allegations are problematic. I mean, she's accused him of mail fraud. She's accused him of any number of crimes. The problem, again, is apparently the FBI has investigated these allegations, and they haven't gone anywhere, and there haven't been any criminal charges. And now we're at an hour where criminal charges aren't going to be brought, and civil charges may be barred because of the statute of limitations. So everything she accuses him of is disparaging. A couple of crimes in there she's accused him of. Problem is the people that bring indictments, convene grand juries, and bring criminal charges haven't quite seen it that way. That's her problem. But yeah, salacious allegations where if you got to a jury, if you could get to a jury, could be a real headache for the defense. I think there's just too difficult a road to get to that jury.
There's also an inference in here. She's claiming that during this deposition in 2024, that Curtis Jackson's lawyers brought up the murder of a rapper at Busta Rhymes' studio, and that it was totally like out of bounds. This had nothing to do with her. She said she didn't work for Curtis Jackson at that time. So that this was brought up to like intimidate her. This is her claim. That murder remains unsolved. So she's saying members of his crew, the G Unit crew, were apparently around when that homicide was committed. I mean, she's almost implying that his people have knowledge of this murder. And she's saying that there's a retired NYPD detective who has basically said that high profile rappers were involved in this homicide or had knowledge of it. So that's a pretty bold claim as well.
There's no question about it. When I read that piece of it, I had to read it 2 or 3 times over because I quite frankly didn't get it. Why would his lawyers be questioning her in a deposition about that subject? Made no sense to me. And
makes no sense.
Obviously, there's got to be more to it. But again, it just sounds like a lot of this is let's throw as much mud against the wall as we can, see what sticks, if anything. And that would be one of the pieces to it. Again, that murder investigation I guess will always be open. And so maybe it's just a little veiled threat to say, hey, listen, I know more than maybe you want me to know. Listen, I'm all ears on this one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get into a courtroom, when there's an answer filed and a judge gets control of this thing, and then the motions start flying in terms of statutes of limitations, motions to dismiss for lack of a proper complaint. It took me, 15 to 20 minutes to figure out what they were actually claiming, the civil violation is. So again, it's not surprising when you think about who's involved here. We've seen a lot of lawsuits over the past probably 3 or 4 years of like nature where celebrities are being sued for one reason or another. Many of them have not gone well for the plaintiff.
And I should say that it was the unsolved murder of Israel Ramirez
Yes.
in 2006. And it was at the Busta Rhymes video shoot in Brooklyn. And it was involving an incident, according to her, of G Unit affiliates, including 50 Cent. So that's a pretty bold claim. And you're right. I think that this is a 67-page lawsuit. I mean, 67 pages. And there's a lot in there. And she is basically saying, like, she's been intimidated. She's been harassed. She's had anxiety. She's had all these issues. But in between, there's all this stuff. And it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It reads, it reads like, a magazine you'd find in a grocery store. And that's never a particularly good thing for a civil complaint either. Judges are going to look at these complaints and they're going to say, well, listen, once we put aside all the vitriol and all of the, salacious details, for lack of a better description, where's the rubber going to meet the road? Where is the meat of this civil case? How do you avoid the filing at this late period of time? What's your answer for how it comes within the statute of limitations? And then if you get past summary judgment after all of that, then it becomes interesting. Then it becomes fun. Then we're all tuned in for a jury trial. The challenge will be to get there.
If I am 50 Cent, though, and I'm reading all of this, and the FBI's actually been investigating me, and my name's coming up in this unsolved homicide investigation, and the feds are talking to people about things my lawyers don't even know about, I think I'm a little worried.
Yeah, I'm guessing he knew, and that worry already happened, if he had worries. Anybody, at least from a distance, and it's always been a distance for me, he doesn't seem like a guy who does a lot of worrying. He's had the kind of life that obviously makes it possible for him to sleep okay, despite all of the investigations that have gone on in this case. It may well be that he's done absolutely nothing wrong.
Right.
At a minimum, obviously, it can't be fun for him to have his business in the street, particularly from someone who was so close to him and who was really overseeing just about everything in his professional life. That's what's interesting about this lawsuit. Some of the other ones we've seen, it's not that case. It's someone who's in a relationship with someone. It's someone who's briefly known the celebrity. Here, it's someone who's kind of been the keeper of the keys for a while. I just wonder if she waited too long. If there's any legitimacy to any of her allegations, whether she waited too long to make them.
Well, she said she was supposed to get severance and never got it. So that's one of the claims in here. And I'm thinking to myself, too, why didn't you file something back then and say, I was due severance? Give me my severance.
Yeah, too little, too late in a lot of ways, I will tell you. And it makes you wonder why the filing now. Does the filing now have something to do with they're trying to piggyback on another lawsuit that was claimed by the defense? And I think there'll be more claims along those lines as we move forward, once they've had a time to digest it and start figuring out their defense strategies. Well,
and that's his lawyer's claim. But they're claiming, look, she's endured years of threats. They basically say they have a paper trail with the FBI and this sheriff's office investigation. But as you're saying, there's still a statute of limitations.
There's no question about it.
In your opinion, yes.
Yeah, there's no question about it. They're going to have to find conduct that he engaged in, or that others engaged in at his direction, and prove that within a 2-year time period. It could be the last thing. It could be something very late in the game, and that will trigger the statute. But if they don't find it, they're going to be SOL here on this lawsuit. So it's one of the first times I've ever seen an immediate response by the defense of, hey, listen, you blew the statute. Because that was one of the first things that his lawyers referenced. And it was the first thing that came to mind as I read the lawsuit. Again, she's going to have to be able to establish that those threats that occurred, I think it was 2024, which was within the statute, were made by him, were made by somebody that he directed. And I don't know they have that. If they have it, they didn't plead it in the lawsuit.
Well, we will keep an eye on it, and we will wait and see, as they say. Brian McMonagle, thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And we'll keep an eye on this lawsuit and let you know what happens. That's it for this episode of Crime Fix. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for being with me. I'll see you back here next time.